Well, in Florida, as I told you before the break, the Desantis administration is moving to disband student organizations registered in the university system that support the Hamas terrorist organization, recognized as a terrorist organization by the federal government. Leftist college students have come out in favor of Hamas and its objectives to wipe Israel off the map. From the river to the sea, since it massacred, tortured, mutilated, raped, beheaded, burned, and captured over 1,400 Israelis back on October the 7th. Yeah, from the river to the sea, Palestine shall be free. You know what they're saying. The State University System of Florida Chancellor Ray Rodriguez wrote a collective letter to the college presidents ordering the deactivation of Students for Justice in Palestine chapters, which are associated with the national organization. Rodriguez cites National SJP's material support of Hamas, which he says constitutes a felony under Florida law. Here with the latest news on this is Florida campus reform correspondent Emily Sturge. Emily, good to have you back.
Thank you so much for having me.
So tell me, what are you seeing on the streets there of the colleges and universities in Florida? What is the support like? Is it similar to what you've seen on TV at Ivy League schools? Is it different? What are you seeing?
Well, down here in the Sunshine State, I attend the University of Florida, and I've seen students on my own campus meet in support of Hamas and in support of the atrocities that Hamas is committing against innocent Israelis. I've attended one of these events myself. It was called the Day of Resistance event, held by a student organization called National Students for Justice in Palestine. And this is a very dangerous national group calling for the eradication of Jewish voices on United States campuses. This is a very big threat that needs to be taken seriously, and this is a particular threat to my university.
Yeah, of course it is. It's a threat to a lot of folks. What do you make of the governor's decision here to say, look, shut these things down. We're not going to have them on campus. We're not going to fund them. We're not going to support them. We're not going to allow them to go forward because they are associated with a designated terrorist organization. What do you make of that?
Well, Governor DeSantis' decision to terminate these pro-Palestinian groups on college campuses across Florida, I believe that this was the leadership we needed to keep violent behavior on college campuses under control. I've seen firsthand what this behavior looks like on college campuses as these pro-Palestinian students are meeting. And universities, not enough universities were standing up against this behavior. So I was happy to see a governor that steps in for the safety of all students and says these protests have no place on our college campuses in Florida. This violent behavior from leftist students does not belong on campuses when students like myself are just trying to go to class. We don't want this behavior on our campus. When I attended the event, I was extremely nervous. It was a very nerve-wracking event with heavy police presence. The entrance was barricaded. We had to go through metal detectors to even enter the event. So our university administration knew this was a dangerous event, radical ideas, and these ideas do not belong on Florida college campuses.
So metal detectors, full security, a heavy police presence, all of those things is what you're saying, Emily, because they know they're dangerous events and that somebody there could bring weapons or explosives or something to create chaos, to create terrorism here in the United States. I'm not saying it's going to happen at the campus of the University of Florida, but it could happen. If it happened today anywhere, Emily, none of us would be surprised, would we?
I wouldn't be surprised at all because this is exactly the type of violent behavior that the left is celebrating for college students to have. The left is celebrating radicalism on college campuses. You know that just as well as I do. We've seen DEI, CRT, LGBTQ, all of those values celebrated in the classroom and on college campuses. And this pro-Hamas, this propaganda is just the next thing that the left is pushing on college students. They're encouraging students to have this violent behavior on college campuses. And they're encouraging students to adopt these leftist values because they know that's how the left is going to continue winning elections, and that's how they're going to get voters to show up to the voting booth.
But isn't it bizarre, if I may be so bold, Queers for Palestine and all of these other groups, you see these signs of these organizations where they've taken a trans flag or a LGBT pride flag and crossed it somehow with support for Hamas and Palestine. Do they understand the treatment they would get if they went to Gaza or the West Bank or most of the Arab countries? Do these students, are they so poorly trained, so poorly taught, so blatantly ignorant that they don't even understand how ridiculous it is to say such a thing, to suggest such a thing?
Well, there's so many ironies in this situation. The irony of college students that are privileged enough to attend universities in the state of Florida, they are in support of Hamas, the terrorist group committing atrocities against innocent people. This is a group that is kidnapping children and murdering civilians and beheading and raping civilians. Yet there's college students in Florida they're upset that the governor has said you can no longer meet on campus in support of this terrorist activity. There's so many ironies in this situation. And yes, like you said, the Queers for Palestine thing, that's just, it's laughable. It's comical how these students are behaving. But once again, this is the type of the behavior that the left is celebrating.
Yeah. Celebrating because of blatant ignorance. Emily, I got to leave it there for today. Thank you for your observations. As always, we'll call again soon because we appreciate having you on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And now, coming up after the break, one masked man is dead. Another charged with second-degree murder during an attempted carjacking in Missouri. Carjacking in that state is a bad idea. Open carry is legal, you see, in Missouri. That story after the break.